Andy B here on the Get You Home Show. That was the Ting Tings Be The One. Time's just a bit after 5:05, and my guest is with me for today. We do this on Mondays and Wednesdays, don't we? We have different people in. We introduce you to some amazing people from around the world. Today, I'm chatting with Miz. Hello, Miz.
Hi, hello.
Now, before people think he's got her name wrong already, no, not Miss, not Mrs., it's Miz with a Z.
Yeah, I know. I danced in the 90s, so everything was a Z in the 90s, right?
I
Good.
love now, we met at the Hand in Hand conference a little while ago now. First of all, how did you find that conference for you?
Oh, it was so encouraging to spend time with people who have the same heart, the same vision. And it was really good fun, really good fun. There were some crazy moments, right? Get a load of youth leaders and children's workers together. You're not going to have a boring time, that's for sure.
No, I think there was a glitter gun. I did see that going around.
That's everybody's worst nightmare, right? Glitter.
It is tech.
But, yeah.
Now, I wanted to talk to you again because I really enjoyed chatting to you about some of your life. We've sort of connected oddly in the past without knowing perhaps we're in the same sort of zones. But talk to me a little bit about why were you dancing in the 90s? What was that all about?
Okay, yeah, back in the 90s, a very long time ago, at the age of 18, you can work out my age from there. I'm an old woman these days. I used to dance in a band in Manchester, and they were called the Worldwide Message Tribe. And it came from just a group of people who wanted to go around schools and share faith with teenagers. So I was not part of that team. I was just a dancer in the background, having a great time. And it really took off. So we were just this little Manchester band. At the end of the week, we'd go and do a concert and share faith with kids. But for some reason, a guy in America got a hold of our tape, our cassette. That's how old it was, and said, "I really love this music." It was kind of full on dance music, and really wanted to take it out to the States. So he took it out to the States. He was a guy called Scott Blackwell. I think he produced some of Madonna's stuff. He was quite a big deal at the time. We were very excited, and then from there we started to get a buzz around the music, and we ended up getting signed by Warner Brothers, and so we had the most amazing few years. Like I said, I had a full-time day job. I was a travel agent, but on a Friday night, I get into my 90s rave gear and go do a concert. The weekend, we travel around Europe and America. So we got to tour 6 weeks in America, 4 weeks in America on these great big buses, stadiums full of people, and Europe as well. I remember Oslo being like literally one of my favorite, and Dresden in Germany was amazing as well. So yeah, it was a crazy time, really good fun. We were a dance band that wasn't into drugs. We were a dance band that was into faith, and we loved sharing it. And it was just a really joyful time.
Now, this is where one of our little connections comes in because in the 90s, between, the summer 95 and 96, I spent up a year up in Manchester in Droylsden, which is on the east side of Manchester, if you're trying to find that on a map. And every so often, there was this band that was doing this kind of cool stuff. And because I was working in schools, we would then go along as, I suppose, gentle bouncers might be one way of putting it, because we were doing youth workers at churches. We'd turn up, we'd rock up, and we'd enjoy this amazing concert by the Worldwide Message Tribe. And we had cassette tapes in our car that we traveled around to the schools in. So we had the Worldwide Message Tribe on cassette tape.
Amazing, amazing. I think we've got a few somewhere still there, still in our attic. In fact, just only last year, because my husband produces the music, I'm not the musician. He's called Zark. Again, 90s. That's his 90s name. And I just said, look, mate, we need to clear out the attic. There's too many cassette tapes and MIDI decks and all these different kind of ways of producing music up there. Let's get it sorted before we get too old. So we've actually moved it all onto Spotify. So if you want to listen to the Worldwide Message Tribe, you can have a listen to it on Spotify. It's crazy. The music, the 90s were crazy, right? It was really good fun. And very high energy. And I listen to the music now and think, how the heck did I dance to that?
Yeah, I remember one of the schools, I think I said this to you before, we went to one of the schools we worked in. Andy Hawthorne was there with the Worldwide Message Tribe. And I remember there was a woman dancing for him in that school who'd just come off a tour with Prince over in America. She came into the Manchester airport, flew straight in, got Andy said, can you come down? She turned up at the school and she was doing dancing with Andy and all the rest of it. And do you know the thing that I loved about it? Because I love music. It wasn't just a bit of fun. It was also, the music was properly good. And that's one of the things I think really made it work. And it was also absolutely evident, everyone here having an absolute blast. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, you think about the health and safety now. Yeah, the kids used to go bananas. It was proper mosh pit stuff, wasn't it? It was really good fun, and really positive messages for children that still are relevant today and are still shared today. So yeah, I don't think I'd talk about it an awful lot to my team because it seems a very long time ago, but I have friendships for life. So I'm spending Friday night with my best friend Emma, my sister, and our daughters. And Emma's daughter is now in a band called Saints Destiny. She's carrying on the tradition. So yeah, we're still all friends now. It's really lovely.
Brilliant. I've actually just put some Worldwide Message Tribe in whenever this interview finishes. So we have a few in the system because I absolutely had to. In fact, here's one for you. When we started this station, 12 p.m., the 1st of September, 2023, the very first song of this radio station was Revolution by the Worldwide Message Tribe.
I've just got to do the dance move. It was so bad. So I'm doing a wheel with my arms. That's the dance move for the Tribe Revolution. That was one of our very first I think we started the set with Revolution. What a tune. But yeah, a long time ago.
I've got to just drag that one in. We'll have a message face. We'll have
I used to love Kickstart because I love high energy dance. So that was my favorite. Real Thing actually got into the charts in America, the dance charts, which was amazing at the time. Very exciting. We had a 12-inch. It was really cool.
12. Yeah, it's not a sub. It's not a sandwich. 12-inch record vinyl.
Yeah. Still in the attic. Probably should bring it down.
Right, that gives us a picture of what you were doing in the 90s. How on earth did you find yourself as a travel agent doing dance for Andy Hawthorne with the Message Tribe? What was the door that you went through and thought, let's do this?
Oh, hilariously, it was. I mean, we're talking. So Mark Pennell's was the other half of the Worldwide Message Tribe, and I used to be in his church. So I think I was dancing in a disco as you do in a youth group, and he was like, "Oh, you're quite good." So he actually dated my sister, married my sister, and I married his music partner, which was Art Porter. So yeah, it's one of those very church-based connections. But Mark started going into schools before the Worldwide Message Tribe, and he had his own music, which Art produced, and I used to dance for that. And then it morphed into this thing when Andy decided that he wanted to become a rapper. So they all went together, and the Worldwide Message Tribe, we had an amazing singer called Elaine Hanley come on, and Lorraine, and we just started this group of people who were just passionate about sharing faith with teenagers, and it became a tribe, which is why it was called the Worldwide Message Tribe, and the rest is history.
Okay, that's the 90s. That gives us an idea into what you were doing. Obviously, that's faith-based. Where did faith begin for you that you were in the church to start with?
Oh, so I grew up going to church because that's what you did. My parents encouraged us to go to everything we could in church, I think to get us out of the house, to be honest. So it was just down the road. I had two sisters, and we used to go to a thing called Campaigners and youth group and Sunday morning service. So I'd go to church quite a lot as a child. I became a Christian as a child, and I think that's probably why what I do now is so important to me. I remember, my life wasn't particularly easy. Had some tough times during my childhood, including my dad leaving, and some really tough stuff. And I just knew that there was a God who loved me and was a father, and that really helped. And then I think at the age of 13, I went with church to see Billy Graham at Anfield and became a Christian and went down officially to say, right, I want to do this for life. Which is kind of like a marriage, right? Once you've gone to that space and you've prayed that prayer, that's it. And that's what it's been for me. And so it's taken me on a massive journey of faith, which has had its ups and downs. And hasn't been easy, but it's been blooming exciting, and I've loved every minute of it.
This is the thing about a relationship with God, though. Oh, it's a bit boring. You go to church and you sing a hymn and you read a bit of a Bible. Do you know, I became a Christian at 7. I'm now running a global media organization that we created just 3 years ago, and seeing the people that we now connect with on a regular basis, the people that we get to support through music or the magazine or whatever, there is nothing boring about my life at all. In fact, I say to my kids who are involved in what we do, at least your parents aren't boring. We take risks that everyone thinks we're complete lunatics for, but do you know what? I wouldn't want it any other way, because those risks that we take can go wrong, but they can go right as well.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful journey of faith. I think, it's not, I'm sitting in a music studio. Again, I'm not the musician, my husband is, and I would say that he's the biggest influence in my life, and it's something that we've done together the whole way. So he does a lot of worship resources, but his heart and passion is iSingPOP, which is what we do now, sharing faith with children and families in an invitational, friendly, joyful and fun-filled way. So I'd say that the journey has been, at points we've left and moved into a caravan from our house in Manchester, which it seemed insane, but we knew it was the right thing to do. And from there, our organisation has grown. And so we've had some really crazy adventures. It's certainly not been boring. It's been quite tiring at times, but and we've been on our knees a lot and lived by faith a lot. But, that's where my faith grows, because I've seen God provide time and time again.
Let me ask you about the caravan. We lived in the caravan for 6 months. We sold our house. We prayed for God to teach us faith. I don't know what your story is, but we prayed, God, teach us faith. And it's one of those prayers, I'm pretty sure God said, okay, then let's go. And we sold our house, which it was a nice family home. We sold that. We bought a caravan thinking, well, where are we going to set up a business that I'd just been trying to get going, selling cloth nappies at the time. And we felt that's what God wanted us to take. Find a high street shop. So we lived in the caravan, sort of toured around the area thinking, where do we want this shop to be? We did not anticipate 6 months living in a caravan. The biggest one you can tow legally behind the car, 2 children, 1 in nappies. And that's what we did. And yet those times, which were so hard in some ways, are some of the best memories of, do you remember that big field where the chickens came to the caravan? We used to feed them with cornflakes. That's one of those memories that our kids remember even now, the best part of 20 years later.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, no, we my husband's parents are farmers in Worcestershire. So we headed up to a place, they had a caravan, and we moved there because we prayed, and it became evident and clear through sets of circumstances that were they could not be a mistake, that we were to move. And we sold our house pretty much straight away, and we were down the M6 with all our furniture. Thought it would just be a few months buying a house, fell through on the way on the M6. We're like, okay, what's going on here? And then 8 months later, we finally moved into a vicarage, which an amazing guy who's now my chair of trustees, who's the Bishop of Colchester, said, you're here, why on earth are you living in a caravan? We've got vicarages, you can stay there. We're really excited to have you in Worcestershire. So it was a real answer to prayer. But those times for me, it's interesting because our life in Manchester was crazy. So our daughter was a dancer, so she was in every single night. We were doing dance things. Our son was in football. It was a really busy life. And I think actually you can be in a place where your children are so busy and you're so busy that you can lose that connection with each other. Yeah. And I think being in that physical space with not a lot and not many friends actually was really precious. And I remember having Christmas there and putting up a little Christmas tree in this freezing caravan where we had every heater on all of the time, thanks to our very kind father-in-law. And it was really precious. And another story, which was incredible, was the moment that we moved out of the caravan. Um, we'd had this vicarage offered to us, and I'd put all the furniture in storage, and we didn't have a lot of money at the time. In fact, we had no money. Um, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and it was the first time I'd been upset, worried, or concerned the whole 8 months, because it had just been so relaxing. To be honest, it was fine. And I was worried because I realized we hadn't got a mattress and we couldn't afford a mattress. So it was like, what are we going to do? We have no mattress. How, you can do without a bed frame, but without a mattress, you're stuffed, right? So next morning, went to see my mother-in-law because it was on her farm that we were staying, and said to her, we haven't got a mattress. I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no money to buy a mattress. The moment I said that, this van came along behind the back of the field, and it literally was behind the back of a field where nobody's meant to drive, and turned into the farmhouse at the back where people are not meant to go, and just stopped and knocked on the door. And the van said, Sleep Master. It was incredible. So we both looked at each other and just absolutely taken aback. This guy up the door said, yeah, I've just got rid of, I've just been putting mattresses in the local area, in the local new houses, but I've got loads spare, so I'm just going round. Would you like one? we just couldn't believe it, but we could believe it because I do believe that there's a God that listens to our big stuff and our little stuff. And obviously my mother-in-law bought me the mattress, so it was cushy.
But that's another part of the journey of faith. You're talking about living by faith. We still do as a family. I get to work with my whole family. There's 5 of us, and it's great, and it's a bit crazy, and it's a bit mad, and people think, how do you get on with each other? Really well, because this has been our life. Because we lived in a caravan, you learn in a very small space to get on with each other in the way that anybody in a big 2-bed, I mean, we lived in a 1-bed apartment. After that, it felt enormous. But when you're living in a house, there's a lot of distance around you. And we're in a huge 4-bed farmhouse now, which is great because we've got studios and offices and all sorts. But even that, it feels quite close because we literally live and work together every single day, 5 days a week, 6 days a week. But we get on because that's just what we've learned to do. And it's really, really precious.
Oh, that's so nice. It was a really great time. And I do look back at it with it was happy time. I mean, there was a flood at one point, which was a bit scary. When we were out and our teenagers, we were like, okay, are they going to be floating away? But it was fine. So it was all good. And yeah, I look back on it anyway with fond memories. I'd have to ask my kids about that. They're in their 20s now. I'm not sure what they'd say, but I look back and really fond memories for me as a mum. But I'm glad to be in a house.
Well, yeah, so I was chatting to a guy who was with Operation Mobilization on the ship that goes around the world, and he took his family with him, two younger kids. And I was with him when he asked for the first time. I mean, this is a guy who's got children of 12 and 15 himself. What was it like when you were on the ship? It must have been a really hard time without your toys, because they obviously had a few toys at a time. And the guy said, they were brilliant times. There were all these people who would never be able to get to meet like that ever again. We're on a ship. It's like a real amazing family of people. Yeah, we didn't have toys, but we could go next door and chat to so-and-so, and we could go and spend some time with this person. And I think their dad was sort of worried and relieved in a very, very quick succession of how much time this lad, as he was now, 40-year-old at the time, how much he enjoyed that. In one level, very, very Spartan little bedroom, not a lot of toys, but he had a great time, because it's interesting the perspectives we put on as parents of how children should be able to enjoy themselves based on what we think, but actually they're having a whale of a time.
Yeah, I think it's life experience. I think that's what I was in Manchester for 40 years. Never thought I'd leave. It is the motherland in my mind. I do love it. I will be watching the football tonight. But it's been great to be here, and it's been an adventure. And I'm only in Worcester. It's as far south as I go, Andy. I'm not going to lie. I love the fact that you introduce people from all over the world, and I'm like, yeah, I'm in Worcester.
I don't care where people live. I love the connections with people. I love finding shared experiences, like the fact that we may well have been at a concert together at some point in the 90s, you dancing and me trying to do some sort of weird soft bouncer type thing. It was good fun. The 90s were, they were really good fun. They were a good time. I got married
Yeah.
in 96. It's a good decade in my mind in that way. Let's move on a bit then, because Worldwide Message Tribe, dancing, travel agent, praying on the motorway, not getting your house, mattresses, floods, and then a vicarage. So bring us to what you're doing today, because I Sing Pop. Tell us a bit about that. What's that all about?
Joy.
We
That's
like
what iSingPOP's about. So I'm going to request that you play Ray Joy, because genuinely that is our story. You know, we might have pain in the night, but joy comes in the morning. It's a tune. But yeah, so iSingPOP is all about joy. It's about bringing joy to families and communities across the UK. We go into schools and we spend 3 days with the children, teaching them 7 songs, which are all around the Christian faith and its values. Values like perseverance, hope, and boy, don't we need hope in this world. Unity, don't we need unity? Belonging, all these different values that are fully inclusive to everybody, of faith and of no faith. Then we take them out of school into the local church. So you've got that school church connection, and put on a big concert for the parents. So it's like a proper pop concert. Taylor Swift, Eat Your Heart Out, for the whole school. So right from reception up to year 6, singing for their parents. And we do an afternoon and an evening. They're always packed out. And it gives just a special invitational moment for that church, for the church, so that they can say, look, we're here. We're part of your community. You're welcome here. So yeah, it's a joy to be part of. I've got some amazing project leaders that travel the country and share this experience with children, and we've got tons of resources, digital and physical, around that. But yeah, we're joy bringers. That's my job. What's not going to like about that?
Do you know, I mentioned this earlier on my show. I was chatting with someone at the supermarket. They were in the scan yourself section. A very useful person. Having a chat, she said, "Oh, I'm sick of these influencers," which was a fascinating conversation, because we had to have our shopping scanned again. It's like, oh, interesting. Where's this going? And she was just fed up of seeing on social media or hearing people taking photos of themselves, like a 17, 18-year-old, just go and live, do something, anything but tell me how I should feel and how I should be. I took from that conversation something what you're just saying. Joy is something we need to share with people, because as Christians, if we are not filled with joy, are we actually Christians? Now, that doesn't mean to say we don't have problems, and I have plenty of those, but also joy, which should exist outside of everything else, is something that we do need to share with other people, because being a Christian, it's really exciting.
Yeah, joy is, but so when things go wrong, my answer is deep joy. That's literally what I say, deep joy. Because, it's not happiness, right? Happiness is how you feel. Joy is something that you do with gut. Joy is something that you do with grit. Joy is something you do despite, because it's a deep knowledge and a deep understanding that actually God's got this, God's on it. And you can have joy whatever, whenever, wherever, because it's a knowledge and understanding that actually you're safe in his hands.
Amen to that. Which is why joy matters. And we do. I'll tell you what I've got Joy by the Wren. Will that do? Joy by the Wren Collective.
Yeah, go on then. But Ray Joy is something else. If you've listened to that album, that's all right. We'll go Rend. Brilliant.
We're not finished yet, but when we finish, I've got Revolution by the Worldwide Message Tribe, because why not? A bit of Joy by the Wren Collective, and we talk to the Lord as well by the Worldwide Message Tribe, because I can. Quite frankly.
You got your big white hands out to dance.
So, you're talking about the work your husband's doing. So talk to us, what is iSingPOP actually doing? Because I know bits of it, but are you writing songs? Are you taking songs and making them into videos? What is it the work that's actually going on as iSingPOP?
So we write all and produce all our own tracks. It's actually a combination of a few people. We've got Mark Pennell still in the mix, Miz Porter still in the mix, but actually we got a new writer, and he went off to do a theology degree, because we were like, don't do music. And he came back, and so he's got the theology side and the music side. So our son Isaac is now producing the new tunes. So we've got a brand new tune which is being launched this week, which is a praise song for Thy Kingdom Come. So the Church of England have launched it. So if you want to listen to us, go on Spotify or the Thy Kingdom Come. There's a ton of resources for churches, for home and for school on there right now. So yeah, it's an absolute tune. It's a banger. But yeah, music wise, in school we do invitational, so it's about values and it's about inviting. We think it's really important that you differentiate, and that's following the framework for the Church of England SIAMs. And then we have full-on praise songs for church. So we're doing a thing called Pop-Up Church, which is the follow-up to our schools work, and it's brand new. It's been launched last week by the Church of England. We've got funding, so if anybody wants to have a pop-up church, there's money to do this thing. And the idea behind that is that it's just a fun service program with some spiritual depth that people can use in their contact in their church to put on once a month for their families to explore faith further. And we've done that so that they have something and some training and some network support around that. So that's the stuff that's done for them, so that they can focus on relationships, because church is all about relationships, right? It's all about bringing communities together. So yeah, but music wise, we don't stop writing music. There's tons on Spotify. We're at Big Church Festival again this year, so we'd love to see you there if you're heading to Big Church. It's such a brilliant event, and my dream is to meet CC Winan. I love her. But I don't think that will happen. Hey ho. Deep joy.
Hey, joy. This is the thing, though. Joy is not about being happy when things are bad, because that's just wrong. The Bible even says that when someone's mourning, you're supposed to mourn with them. But when they're laughing and joyful, then you should be laughing and be joyful with them. And actually, the joy, like you said, is the happiness thing. It frustrates me, I think, sometimes, because people are trying to pursue happiness. But if I can be happy, then life will be better. And yes, it will for 25 seconds, and then it'll be gone again. But the thing about joy is it's everlasting, which is such an unused word. We don't understand the concept of everlasting because we live 80 years or whatever it is, and we die, and it's very gone. And no, joy is everlasting because it lives on regardless of how we feel. And that's why joy is so important, which is what I loved about meeting some of your team at Hand in Hand, because there was this joy literally bubbling out of just spending 20 seconds chatting to one of your team.
Well, that's so nice. I'm really happy about that. Good job, guys. Yeah, our culture in our team is really important to me. So flourishing and team and creativity and excellence are our team culture, and we do try in everything we do to refer back to those. So we do our best as a team, and we spend time together every week praying and singing, they're just amazing. I am so privileged and humbled to look after them, and I think it's come from many years of being around artists. That's something that seems to be a skill of mine. And I don't do a lot of things amazingly. I can't sing. Everyone thinks I'm a singer. I'm not a singer. I'm not a musician, but I care about the creatives that I work with.
But that matters because they need to know what they're trying to achieve. They need to know, yeah, that's not so good, or be pushed somewhere else, or have you thought about that, or how are you feeling? Because the thing about being creative and not all artistic in any way is, generally speaking, those people can be more vulnerable. I'm generalizing here. They can be more vulnerable. Oh, was that okay? If I've done an all-age service in the past and everyone's really happy and loving it, the first thing I say as soon as I'm alone and my wife is, was it any good? Was it really okay? Because the fact that people are saying it's great doesn't make me think it's great. It just makes me think, I'm really happy you're happy, but I want to know from the one person I do trust, which is Jo, who will say that was rubbish. No, she never said that. But I know that she would. And I wanted to know, was it really good? Because the fact that people say it's good, it's not that it didn't matter to me, because it does. But that's the vulnerability of somebody who's kind of artistic in nature, is you're constantly thinking, was it really okay? Are you sure it was okay? Because you're always thinking, how could I do better?
Well, I'm married to a musician, right, who's a producer. So my worst thing about iSingPOP, if I'm really honest, is having to tell him that I don't like the tracks. or that's not right, because it's hard. It's hard to hear, even at his age, he is an artistic guy, so he's like, but he always knows that actually, if I say, "Oh, that's not quite right," um, he knows I'm right. Because I've been listening to music with him for so long, he'll argue with me, but eventually it'll come out good. So.
I want to talk a bit about you working with your husband, because I work alongside my wife, Jo. We're married 30 years this year. Everything that's most happy for us is the moments when we've worked in a church together, or now with Pure Media, we get to work alongside each other. She's my PA, so she helps me with my diary and helps with the office and makes everything actually functional. It runs the home, which I used to do as a stay-at-home dad for 20 years. Now she does that, which makes me think, I don't know what I'm supposed to do anymore, because I used to do I used to love washing and cleaning and cooking and all that. Now I don't do that ever. But what's it like working alongside your husband? Because for some people that would be their worst nightmare, because they can't contrive a situation where they would be able to spend hours and hours with each other without there being issues. How have you found working alongside your hubby?
I don't think we necessarily work alongside each other. We interact with each other during the week and during the day. He's an absolute workaholic, Zark. His passion and his love is making music for churches, making music for iSingPOP, for all the other bands. There was a lot. Well, the band with no name, Shine, Vienna, back in the 2000s. So he's had a glorious journey of producing and writing and making music, and actually playing in church as well. He loves that. He's a great musician. I just critique it, which is awful. But yeah, no, we do. I would say that we've been on a journey of ministries together. So we run two different ministries. He does a thing called the Worship Zone, which is music for churches, and I run iSingPOP, and that's how it works. But we run them in parallel together. So everything is talked about. We do lots of walking and lots of talking, and we disappear quite a lot away from here. So people often like, why have you gone to Devon again? And I'm like, A, because we're getting old, and B, because when we go to Devon, there's going to be some form of vision. There's going to be some form of new thing that comes through. We'll have chatted stuff through. So even though we're not in the same space physically together most of the time, actually when we connect, there's just something really precious about it. But he does also have another partner. So he is also married to a guy called Mark Pennells, who is my sister's husband, which is a good thing because they talk every morning. Back in the day, it used to be Andy as well. So the three of them literally every morning would be on the phone. So, but he's got a busy job elsewhere these days, right? The message is massive. So,
yeah, I don't think Andy's bored.
No, he'll never be bored.
No, we're talking about Andy of Hawthorne, of course, of the Message Trust, which was originally the World Message Tribe, the tribe eventually the Message Trust, which exists today. Miz, I'm loving this conversation because it's nice talking about the 90s, because the Worldwide Message Tribe were a bit like the Ren Collective, became in a completely different sphere of music. They were doing things that nobody else was doing, and they were pushing the boundaries of what can be done, and just sometimes for no other purpose than the word you keep using, which is joy. We've watched that with Ren Collective. We've watched that with Worldwide Message Tribe in the 90s. They're bringing something to that zone, which I absolutely love. A guy called Glasby, who I'm getting to know a little bit, he does sort of loop music. He's going to be at a big church this year. He's great because he's just doing something different. And I love different, because different can be good. Different can be very good. But I love what you're doing. The other question I wanted to ask you is, you're older, clearly, if you were dancing in the 90s. Why work with children? Why work with children, which can be harder work?
Oh, I think it comes back to that 7-year-old who needed the reassurance of God in her life, who needed to know that she was loved, who needed to know that she was seen, who needed to know that she was heard. When I didn't run this organization to start with. I just came in and started doing, somebody turned to me and said, we think you can go into school. We think you'd be great with kids. And so I started teaching the children to sing, and putting on concerts with iSingPOP, which used to be called Pop Connection at the time. It's now iSingPOP. And I just found myself genuinely, I was like, this is my space. I get this space. It's not just about the kids, it's about the parents, it's about the teachers sitting in the staff room, listening to the teachers. When you've been in and you're teaching the children, it affects the whole school. And we see with all our projects, we see around 150,000 children a year. And I just think, we've had some amazing stories of children who have been through incredibly difficult times, being really lifted by the project and encouraged. We've had children who can't sleep, being able to sleep after iSingPOP's come in. Some really, really harrowing stories of parents just emailing us few times now saying that unfortunately their children have passed away. But iSingPOP was one of the best things that they did, and they've got pictures and memories of their children, and they have, those songs are utterly precious to them. We have iSingPOP weddings where families sing iSingPOP at the top of the aisle because that's what they're singing in school, and those are the songs that they know. Those are the spiritual songs to them, and it's a full breadth of emotions. It's just doing life with people, really. So sorry, getting a bit emotional, and I've probably gone off point. But there's just so many lovely stories, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to bring hope to families who need it, and they really do.
I asked you about the age thing because I might have shared this with you at Hand in Hand conference, but I was doing a holiday club for a group of churches in Wolverhampton, and there was this much older couple who said, "Oh well, we're going to come and make cups of tea. That's it. We're far too old to work with children anymore." And I said, "No, that's rubbish, absolute rubbish." And we got them involved, and they absolutely loved it. They said, "We didn't know that working with children could be like how I work, which I go for easy. I don't go for hard, not high energy. There, you bring that in." But they were like, "This was really easy. We can actually work with the children. We can do this." And they were sort of 70s or so, having given up. And they said, "We were children's workers, but sort of 20 years ago. But then we got old, and people said, 'You're too old now.'" And they sort of lost heart. But they did my version of children's work, which is much easier. Get everyone doing the work, not just a few. And they said, "Oh, we can do this," and it recommissioned them in a beautiful way, which I had not expected. I was just like, if you're going to come and volunteer, you got to get stuck in, and they did, and it was great fun because they just not thought of a different way of doing church.
Yeah, and that's what pop-up church is all about. So we've seen the need to firsthand of doing this amazing project, having all these people in the church and people wanting to connect with faith. This isn't us preaching at them. This is us sharing faith and then wanting to connect with faith, but not having those next steps naturally to go to. So that's why we started Pop-Up Church. But with the fact that we realise that there aren't that many people who can volunteer for the churches we work in, because we work in local church and local school. It's a national project, but it is all about the local. So Pop-Up Church has been designed as a monthly service, and the whole thing around it is it's just that moment of entry for families, but only needs 4 volunteers. So you're not talking about having a huge crowd of people volunteering, and everything, all the resources are provided for them. And you can organise a pop-up church service within 10 minutes if you really wanted to. It's all there. You just pick and mix it to your context. It's there to go. And most of it is digital resources, but also you can allocate different things for children and for families to be part of that service, because for us in school, child leadership is at the heart of collective worship. So why wouldn't it be in a church service? Why not get the whole family involved? So, but the main thing that with it is that it's low on volunteers, because there aren't that many. But these volunteers, they're all going to be of a certain age. As long as you can talk or you can communicate some way with people, and if you've got that that whole thing of being having the heart and being able to listen to families, then you're in the right space. It's just opening up and being vulnerable and getting that training and being brave. And like I said, pop-up church is a whole training, resourcing and network support program, and it's going to have a huge community around it, where there's going to be tons of ideas that people can pass one through each other. So we're really looking forward to starting it, and if you're interested, please do get in touch with me.
Tell us a bit more then. If somebody thinks, okay, this pop-up church sounds interesting. What are they actually going to get real time, and what's the investment from them to get involved?
Okay, well, it's paid for. So to set up pop-up church, it costs £1,000 per church service, because there's a ton of resources and people to support them behind that. And the Church of England churches, with the whole new worshipping communities thing that they're focusing on, children and young people, we have funding for 300 pop-up churches to start. And then after a year, it will be £30 a month, just to make sure we can continue to build the resources. And the resources are beautiful Bible animations, songs, dances, crafts, games, prayers, anything you need to run a fun, interactive service. But like I said, it's very much, there's a template, a PowerPoint, you can just do it. Or you can pick and mix it to your context and add your own flavour. So for Pentecost, we had a church in Worcester, and they did ice cream sundaes. They had it was really, they had Palm Sunday, so they had palms and ice creams for Sundays, that kind of thing, just really good fun things to make it interactive. But I also think that actually you can be really spiritual in those moments as well, and people are looking for that. So this morning I was with a group of vicars and clergy and lay, chatting through how pop-up church can have those moments of reflection as well, those moments of spirituality and into the mix, to make sure that people have time, and takeaways to make sure that people have time to really think about what they've heard and reflect on that, and how that can help them through their lives. Because like me and you, right, we know it works, but a lot of it is, you need to have time to think, you need to have time to reflect. So the tools around those are just as important as the tools around, let's get up and have a good dance and good fun and sing together.
Miz, thank you. If people want to contact you, there's two parts of this. If they want to get hold of you at iSingPOP, how do they best do that?
Website, www.isingpop.org, and that's ISINGPOP. So not icing sugar. So if you go on, you can register your interest. I'm running lots of webinars over the next few months, which share all about pop-up church. So you can register your interest and come and have a look at the webinar and what pop-up church is all about.
Cool. Thank you, Miz. Enjoyed this a lot. I like reflecting on the 90s, because I remember those concerts with a great deal of joy. I was working in some of those schools, and to get basically a free concert fairly frequently was a big thumbs up for me. So we like that quite a lot. Now, I've just put in earlier, as I said, 2 worldwide message tries, because I can and no one can stop me. So we're going to do Revolution, which is actually how we started this station. 12 p.m. 1st of September 2023. We got Joy Collective, and We Talk to the Lord Again by the Worldwide Message Tribe, because, well, why not? Miz, thank you.
Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get up and start boogieing around the room. That's what it's all about. Always. Thank you so much, Andy. Thank you for volunteering back in the 90s. That's all I'm saying. That wasn't an easy job.
No, it was good fun, though.